Good to know. Hello, everybody. So it's another Friday, and we are here to have a conversation about anxiety today. So first off, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Gemma. I'm one of the wellbeing coaches at Isorropia. Have been for about 2 years now, and on my left I have the lovely...
I'm Noami. I have been working here at Isorropia for about 4 months, and I'm new to the wellbeing coach role. So yeah, pretty new to all this.
Yep. So you've got the pleasure of our company for the next hour while we have a chat about anxiety. Just going to go through a very brief preamble first before we get underway. So the principles of these live sessions is to help you gain an insight into who you are as a unique individual and have the opportunity to connect with our online community. So we request that you are honest, open-minded, willing and respectful. Also, please recognise that we as wellbeing coaches are limited to what we can read out and cover in each session. So please make contact at any point after the live session if you need any additional support. So far I can see we have got some people watching. Hello.
Hiya.
So let's have a little chat about anxiety.
So if you have any comments or anything like that, or you want to say anything, please comment so then we can answer your questions or reply to your comments. We want it to be a little bit like a free discussion just about anxiety, how we feel about it, how we're managing it, how we're struggling to manage it, and to sort of really look at some tools and things that are going to help us all to sort of be able to deal with that. So
yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important that we just talk about these things. It's important.
It is
definitely important. So basically, in regards to anxiety, it is actually a chemical response to a situation that we might be experiencing at the time. And it's actually totally normal to have that. It kind of dates back to when we were cavemen.
Literally.
Yeah.
So there was a lion that walked into the room or into the cave back in those days.
Just imagine it now.
Yeah. You would need to have anxiety. It would be important for you to have that so that you were able to get the fight or flight response to be able to run away or fight the threat. So it's still, our bodies are still in that sort of mode. So it's important that we have that.
Yeah, just like to take a moment because this is quite nice. So Sarah is on here and she's just saying she's reactivated her account especially for this live.
Oh, nice.
So I think we should feel incredibly honoured right now. Thank you, Sarah. So in terms of anxiety, one of the questions that we have been asked is, what came first, your struggles in managing your fear or your mental well-being issues? So Noami, what do you think came first?
So for me, I struggled to manage my fears and felt overwhelmed a lot of the time and often struggled to de-escalate those fears and emotions, which then caused anxiety, which then snowballed into depression. So it sort of started from definitely my fears and not being able to control that and manage those fears.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I can heavily relate to. So I think for me, it was about sort of transitioning into university. That was when I found it a real struggle because it was the unknown and it was my first time fully living away from home. So that was the big one for me. And I think I also kind of got very low and depressed within myself. And that then led to sort of like a lack in self-esteem and confidence. So I think I've definitely said the fear of the unknown, the anxiety of a new situation, being away from home for the first time. That was one of the most massive things for me in terms of my start of decline and experiencing anxiety. That was kind of like the first thing that I'd ever experienced.
Did you find it snowballed sort of into everything else, like with your depression and things like that?
It did.
Self-esteem, and then it all sort of like...
Yeah, oh no, absolutely. So when I first started, I was quite social, I was quite active, and I was in most things. I was going out most evenings and hanging out with people. And then as I got more into it and I felt sort of unworthy of being there to a certain extent. So I think that depression was causing a self-esteem problem. And then I started to isolate a bit more. So instead of going out with friends I'd made, I'd be staying in my room at
Yeah,
halls and working,
Mhm.
and I'd really just
So
be sitting binging watching EastEnders or something.
That's the problem, though, isn't it, with things like that? When you're feeling a lot of anxiety and things like that, your comfort zone gets smaller and smaller and smaller to the point where it's almost non-existent.
Exactly.
And it can just become one room sort of thing. And then,
no, completely.
Yeah, it's completely like controlled by fear. At the end of the day.
I mean, I don't know about you guys out there who are watching, but you know, what do you think came first for yourselves? You know, was it the fear, or was it your mental health well-being that started to cause your anxiety? You know, it'd be really interesting to hear your thoughts on that one.
Definitely.
So, next question, do you think?
Yeah, next question, yeah. If we're going too fast and anyone wants to go back to the other questions and answer them, that's perfectly okay. Just pop it up on the screen.
Yeah,
and
we'll get back to you eventually.
We can go back to other previous questions and revisit
that's not
them
a problem.
as well.
So the second question, what are some of your triggers into anxiety?
So mine personally, I've got a few triggers for myself. So money, for example, yes, or finances, being able to budget, things like that. Stress in general, feeling unable to cope in a situation, and feeling out of control. That's one of the biggest things for me, not being in control. So like roller coasters and things like that cause me a lot of anxiety because I'm completely not in control. And also one of my biggest things is the boat. So going on a boat, which is something that I'm really struggling with. Actually, I'm going over on the weekend to see some family, and I have to get on the boat, and it causes me a lot of anxiety. So I really have to try and sort of like de-escalate myself before I get onto the boat. Really try and manage that, which is really difficult, especially when you have little children as well at the same time as dealing with that.
Because at the same time, and I think it's something I've learned as a parent, is you try not to project your anxieties onto them.
Definitely.
So
definitely.
An example I can give, excuse me, is before my son was born, I was massively scared of spiders. Like, didn't matter what size they were, I was absolutely terrified. And then when he was born, I kind of made a promise to myself that I wouldn't project that onto him.
Yeah,
so there's no logical reason why I'm actually scared of spiders, apart from the fact that they move really fast and they're big and black and hairy. And if maybe they were pink, it would be different. But so I try not to do that, and I think it's harder sometimes when you've got kids, because you try so hard not to project that.
Definitely.
And then I think what ends up happening is you're internalizing it, and you're not managing it. So it makes it a lot harder sometimes, I think.
Definitely. I sometimes think it's important though, isn't it, to when you have children, for them to be aware that actually you are struggling sometimes with some stuff, and to show them that you are finding it difficult, but also that you're able to overcome that.
Yeah.
For them to be able to see that you're able to manage your fears, that you do have fears to start off with, and that you're actually able to manage them and in an effective way, then that's brilliant. That's really, really good. That's what we're trying to teach our children, isn't it, as well? How to deal with our emotions.
I think it's important. I think it is really important. So Sarah has put, oh yes, Naomi, totally relate to the comfort zones getting smaller. And then it suddenly moved. I was very anxious as a child, and it stayed with me throughout my adult. So yeah, I think that's really important. And yes, Sarah, I agree. Pink spiders for the win. That would definitely make them a lot easier to deal with.
Still scary though.
Still scary, I think, but I think a little less scary. And you've seen them coming.
Yeah, you would.
I think it's really common in terms of what triggers my anxiety is things like life stressors. So it could be something, especially things out of my control.
Yeah, definitely.
So I had a situation last year where we were in a rented house. We'd been in it for about 3 months, and the landlady, through no fault of her own, said that she had to sell the house, and that meant that we would have to be out by the beginning of last year.
Okay.
And it was incredibly hard. And my anxiety, not going to lie, was completely all over the show, because it was like, well, if you don't have anywhere to live, what's going to happen? Definitely. It's the worst case scenario. And I think you also catastrophize when you're anxious.
Very much.
And especially if it's something out of your control, because you're always imagining like the worst case scenario. So I think it is totally normal. And I think health as well is a big one. So if you've got health concerns, or someone in your family is not well, again, I think that is totally natural, you know, to be anxious about that kind of thing.
Definitely. I think with a lot of things, with a lot of these triggers though, I think it's really important to remember and be aware of what you're in control of and what you're not. I think that's something that I'm really learning actually at the moment as well, is what can I control and what can't I control. Like, for example, I get really, really stressed on my way to work sometimes, and I'm thinking I'm going to be late. I've got like 10 minutes to get there, and the traffic's really slow, and I'm in my car like with my foot on the clutch, thinking like, come on, this isn't moving. Like, and then it sort of like dawned on me like a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, actually, it doesn't matter how upset I get, or how stressed I get, or how angry I get, or how frustrated I am. It's not going to change the situation.
No, exactly.
The situation's not going to change.
No, it's not going to make the traffic move any faster, is it?
Yeah, exactly. I could literally be like the angriest person in the whole world in my car by myself, but nobody's going to be aware of it, and it's not going to change anything.
No,
so
absolutely.
I think it's really important to be aware of what you can and what you can't control.
Yeah.
To be able to reduce that anxiety, because as soon as I actually thought that, just that in that moment, it completely like de-escalated me, and I was like, actually, it's totally pointless me getting worked up about this. So I just need to just go along with it. So it's important. It's important to remember that.
Yeah, and I think we talk about it a lot in workshops as well, don't we? About that sphere of influence, that those things that you can control and the things that you can't control. I think it's important to sometimes sit down and sort of look at when you're anxious, especially sort of doing it. I do it a lot. It's, you know, you put the little circle in the middle, the big circle on the outside, and the things that are within my control go in that little circle.
Okay.
And the things that are not in my control go in the bigger circle. And those things are the things that I absolutely cannot do anything with. I can't change them, because it's a situation that's going to happen regardless of whether I spend sleepless nights about it, or worrying about it, or getting angry about it. It can't be changed.
Exactly. But it's just the awareness of that, which is so powerful, and which is actually really, really helpful to reducing that anxiety in some situations.
Oh, Jazz is here.
Hi, Jazz.
Hi, Jazz. she can't keep away. Okay, so shall we move on to the next question?
Yeah, next question, please.
Obviously, as we're going through, guys, anyone who's watching, if you've got any comments about the questions or have any other questions that you want to ask, then please do feel free. So next question, how can you tell when you're feeling anxious? So what does it look like for you?
So personally, I end up getting really sweaty palms. My heart starts racing. I kind of just feel like really clouded and not able to think straight. And yeah, just sort of like panicky, I suppose, sort of a little bit panicky. And generally what it is just fear. It's just fear of the unknown and not being able to cope with the threat. So whatever the threat is, your perspective on your ability to be able to cope with that threat, I think. So it's just pure fear, basically.
So I think you're right there. There's the physical sensations, isn't it? So the sweaty palms, you know, my heart will race. You know, I will feel like my head will hurt as well, also sometimes, especially if the anxiety continues without me like kind of acknowledging it.
Yes, like subconsciously.
It will just carry on. And you know, that actually kind of happens again because of all the adrenaline that sort of goes through your body. So obviously when you get into an anxious state, it's a response to a threat or a situation that you cannot control. So it's kind of the adrenaline is seizing to sort of do something. You know, normally in most respects it is to run away from it. But obviously we don't tend to do that now, because again, it's going back to the earlier conversation we had about the lion.
Exactly.
Like there are no lions coming into the office that are going to eat us, so we don't need to run away from them. So we have all this adrenaline coursing through our veins, and we don't know what we're doing with it.